Hey guys, Jules here with another reasoning session yet again, and today we're going to tackle the book of Job. That's right, we're going to try and tackle this entire book of Job in 10 minutes. Let's see if we can do it. But, there's been a lot of stuff talked about Job. People say, poor Job, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Whatever happens, happens. Que sera, sera. We'll get it better next time. Well, let's really dig into what this text is saying. The nature of the text will break out of the molds of institutions and academia and really see what source is conveying, what the ancients were writing, how they understood the nature of source, and if we can garner something that maybe institutions have been hiding from us all along, but what the text is just telling us straight up to our face.
Come now and let us reason together. Come now, we can talk it over.
So actually in tradition, Job, the same Job, is actually one of the children of Israel that comes into Egypt with Joseph and his brothers. He's actually the third son of Issachar or Issachar, listed in the genealogies of Jacob, who comes down into Egypt. But after the Israelites come down to Egypt, right, to escape the famine, Joseph says, hey, when I'm dead, take my bones back, because he knew that the Egyptians only respected their family because of him. But once he died, nobody left because they were all rich. They had everything going on for them, Only one man left, and he left Egypt and went down to the backside of the desert to a land named Uz. Now, time goes on, of course, and Moses is born. He's raised in the palace, and then one day he sees an Egyptian beating an Israelite, so he kills the Egyptian, and he has to flee. So he flees for his life. Where does he go? To the backside of the desert. Over there, he has his experience with the burning bush, and he's set to go back and tell Pharaoh, this is the case, let Israel go, and you'll be good. But Moses is afraid to go back because, of the punishment that awaits him. So in the backside of the desert, he meets and he talks to Job about his experience with the burning bush. And he knows Job, he knows this lineage, he knows the family. But Job tells him, listen to what happens when you're afraid. This is what happens when you're fearful, because Job was literally the wealthiest man in the land. It says, he had cattle, he had servants, he had a big family, he had everything going for him, but he was afraid he was going to lose it all. And he heard that whenever someone curses Elohim in their heart, that, they would die. So every time one of his children had a birthday, he would offer sacrifices, thinking that maybe they have cursed Elohim in their heart. He didn't know this. He didn't know that they did. He didn't even know that they would. He was just afraid of this. So this is the state in which Job was operating. This was the tendency whereby he was actually implementing causal realities. But let's get into the nature of God in this book, because a lot of people think that, God is the one causing problems and God and Satan are on the same team. Well, let's really break down the words used. So starting at verse 6 of chapter 1, now there was a day when the sons of God, Bene Elohim, came to present themselves before Yahweh, not Elohim, Yahweh. There's a very specific terminology used here. We're going to see why. And Satan, Hashatan, came also among them. Now, Hashatan is the accuser. Satan came also among them. Now, Satan is one of these angels. That's how he's able to present himself with the rest of Bene Elohim, the rest of the angels, before not Elohim, though, because Elohim is pure source. Elohim will literally vaporize any form of evil. But this is Yahweh. This is the Lord in all caps. This is the same aspect which I talk about, meaning what goes around comes around, the God of cyclical justice. So this aspect of the divine generational law is what's being called into question here. And Yahweh said unto Satan, whence comest thou? Or Where do you come from? And Satan answered Yahweh and says, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. Up and down in it? Well, let's not forget the incident when Jacob saw the ladder and angels were ascending up and down the ladder. Up and down in the earth refers to the system of harvest. When something's ready, they go up to the top where the Lord is, and they demand from the Lord of the harvest the reaping of the seeds sown. Jesus even says that angels are harvesting spirits. So we see that. And then it continues on, and Yahweh says unto Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one which fears Elohim? So this is Yahweh talking to Satan about Job fearing not Yahweh, Elohim. Why would it matter if all these terms are interchangeable? Very specific terminology used, and we're going to see it's for a very good reason. So here we see that Yahweh is saying, you're here because you've considered Job. And Satan says to Yahweh, does Job fear Elohim for naught? He doesn't say, does Job fear you for naught? He says, does Job fear Elohim for naught? So again, we see that this is describing different aspects of the nature of the divine essence. Hast thou not made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth your hand now. This is Satan talking to Yahweh. Put forth your hand, Yahweh, and touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face. And Yahweh said unto Satan, behold, all that he has is in your power. Wait a minute, what? I thought God was in control. How can it be that all that Job has is in his power? Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So everything except Job's very life was already in Satan's power, apparently. So Satan went forth from the presence of Yahweh. Now, how is it that all of this was already in Satan's possession? Well, again, we come to the very beginning when Job was fearful, and he feared that he was going to lose everything. He feared that his children were cursing Elohim. He feared all these things, so he was already sowing seeds of fear, sowing seeds of losing that which he had. And those seeds were coming up before the Lord of harvest, demanding a harvest. And angels reap all kinds of harvest, but the one who accuses us for the harvest that we don't really want, that one is called in the text as the accuser, or in the Hebrew, Hashatan, Satan. So all these different terms used to describe what we've thought were just, different ways of saying the same thing. Actually, no, there are different aspects. And we have to realize that whenever it's using certain words, it's very precise. It's very detailed. And it's not just superficially. It's not just throwing words out there just for the sake of reverence or for the sake of, filling up space on the page. It is a science. And we see that every time that Satan comes back, because he comes back before Yahweh a couple times. Every time he comes back, Job has said something else. The first time he takes away all Job's property, and what does Job do? He curses the very day he was born. So these things come up, and every time there's a new harvest being demanded, Satan comes back before the Lord of harvest and says, time to pay up. So again, this all happens because Job is acting in fear. We read at the end of chapter 3, verse 25, for the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, and that which I was afraid of is come unto me. I was not in safety, neither had I rest, neither was I quiet, yet trouble came. So sometimes it looks like, you're doing everything you can to avoid the problem, but the seeds are being sown from the causal realm. You're not sowing the seeds of actually going out and, slapping somebody and then expecting them to fight you. Those are physical seeds, but the actual causal seeds that Job was sowing were seeds of fear. And that fear just caused his entire possessions, his entire situation to literally be decimated. Because making gains in the physical world while pushing the noodle can get you maybe a little bit, Pushing the causal realm is actually where the real changes happen. And we can literally flip the tables on anything. That's how Job did it. From going from the richest man in his whole area to literally, scraping the boils off of his skin. But we see that through all of this, Job still held his philosophy. At the end of chapter 1, it says, verse 21, "Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. Yahweh gave, and Yahweh has taken away. Blessed be the name, the authority of Yahweh." But continuing, in all this, Job sinned not, nor charged Elohim foolishly. You see, very specific terminology is being used here. And once we realize that this is actually describing certain aspects of this process to us, we're not going to throw it out and say, oh, these guys were writing from the southern Levant with the Yahweh's tradition, and then these guys came from the north with an Elohist tradition, and then later on the priests were coming back from the Babylonian exile, and they had their writings and Levitical laws and all their compilations of rulings. There are different passages in this book because they're talking about different things. It's not that the words were used by different people and no, you're looking at it from the bottom up. It's trying to figure out what the grass looks like when it grows, but all you can see is a mole's eye view from under the dirt. You're not going to see that much. So that's why academia is a bottom-up philosophy. It's backwards. It's trying to figure out why things are the way it is after the fact. But let's really dig into the nature of this text. Let's really break apart the words and what they mean and how they can be applied systematically, metaphorically, and allegorically, but practically. And let's really realize what this text is trying to convey to us. Really step up and embody that awareness. And then we're going to be manifesting, like Job, double portions, where our latter end is much more than our beginning. So think about that for a bit. I know religious institutions like to capitalize on guilt and just penance. That's how they monopolize souls. But we're breaking out of that mold. We're stepping up, reclaiming our sovereignty, and re-entering the Garden of Eden, where we literally manifest and create a utopia, heaven on earth, the one that we know that we were deserving of all along. So stay optimistic and do your part, because we are creating our dream life. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. I sincerely do. Joel signing out once again. I'll see you in the next reasoning sesh. Agape, Salaam, Namaste. Hotep.